My name is Tracy Cooper. I'm 34. 3 months ago, I flew 17 hours to attend my sister's wedding. When I finally arrived at the venue, a beautiful countryside estate just outside Ashton Ridge, my own parents stepped in front of the entrance and told me to leave. Only family is allowed. My mother said quietly, "You weren't invited." I stood there in the dress I had chosen 2 months earlier, still holding the gift I had wrapped the night before in my hotel room, and watched her face. Nothing. No guilt, no hesitation, just a door closing. The worst part, I had signed every single vendor contract for that wedding. Every one. My name, my credit card, my responsibility. I paid the deposits months ago without thinking twice, because that's what family does, right? 3 days later, she called me, not to apologize. She called about a bill, $38,000. And what I said next, she never saw coming. Before we go any further, take a moment to subscribe, but only if you believe that sometimes. The people we trust the most can hurt us the deepest, and that learning to protect yourself is part of healing. Tell me, where are you listening from? And what's the temperature like there right now? I always love seeing where these stories reach. This is a fictional story. Some details have been enhanced with AI to make it more vivid, but the emotions behind it are entirely real. Now, let me take you back to where it all truly began. Last November. The night everything quietly started to fall into place. It was a Tuesday evening in London, cold and damp, with November rain tapping steadily against my apartment window. I was curled up on the couch with my laptop when my phone buzzed. FaceTime. It was my younger sister, Lily Cooper, 26, fresh out of college, still living 10 minutes from our parents in a small town called Millbrook, Virginia. I picked up. Her face filled the screen instantly, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of our mother, Carol, moving around the kitchen counter like she was already preparing for something. "I'm engaged," Lily practically screamed, shoving her hand toward the camera. The ring caught the light. Evan proposed last night at the vineyard. It was perfect. I felt it immediately. That rush of genuine happiness, the kind that doesn't need to be forced. "Lily, that's amazing. Congratulations." "Thank you." Evan's family is freaking out. The Harringtons already offered their estate for the wedding. Can you believe that I could? Everyone in Millbrook knew the Harringtons. Old money, old reputation. They owned half the commercial property in town. Evan Harrington was the youngest son, polished, well-spoken, the kind of guy people trusted instantly. "Mom, say hi to Tracy," Lily said, tilting the phone. Carol leaned into frame. She smiled, but it felt thin, like it stopped just short of being real. "Hi, sweetheart. Big news." "Right, it really is," I said. "I'll start looking at flights. When's the date?" There was a pause, a small one, but long enough to feel. Carol glanced at Lily, then back at me. "Oh, don't go spending a fortune on a plane ticket. It's just going to be a small wedding." "Mom, it's Lily's wedding. Of course I'm coming." "Well, we'll see." Her tone shifted quickly, like she'd already decided to move past the topic. "Anyway, we've got a lot to plan. I'll let Lily fill you in." And just like that, she stepped out of the frame. Lily kept talking for another 10 minutes. Flowers, colors, the vibe she wanted, soft blush tones, outdoor lights, something intimate but elegant. I listened. I smiled. I even opened my notes app and started writing things down, but there was this feeling sitting in my chest. Heavy, uncomfortable. That call was the first real reason I'd had in 2 years to go home, and I should have paid closer attention to how hard my mother was trying to make sure I didn't. 2 weeks later, she called me. Not Lily. Carol. It was a Wednesday afternoon in London, which meant it was still morning back in Millbrook. Early enough that she'd probably been thinking about this since she woke up. Tracy, I need to talk to you about something practical. Her voice was calm, measured. Okay. The venue needs a credit card on file to hold the reservation. Your father and I, well, you know our credit isn't great after the refinance. And Lily just graduated. She doesn't have enough history yet. I leaned back in my chair slowly. I already knew exactly where this was going. The caterer needs the same thing, she continued. And the florist. And the photographer. 4 contracts total. We just need someone with strong credit to sign. You'd be helping your sister more than you know. How much are we talking about altogether? Around 41,000. But you'd only be putting down about 3,500 as a deposit. The rest gets charged after the wedding. $41,000. Under my name. Mom. That's a lot. It's not your money. Tracy. It's just your name on the paperwork. We'll take care of everything after. I promise. I'd heard that promise before, when I was 22. I co-signed a car loan for my dad. It took me 3 years to fix the damage on my credit. When I was 28, I wired my mom $4,000 for what she called a plumbing emergency. It turned out to be Lily's tuition payment. But this was different. This was my sister's wedding, and I was the older sister, the stable one, the one with the job, the income, the good credit. Fine, I said quietly. Send me the contracts. I told myself this was what family does. I signed every document that week. Didn't read the fine print twice. Didn't question it. Over the next 3 months, the wedding came together. And somehow, I watched all of it happen from the outside. Lily created a group chat called Harrington Wedding Crew. I wasn't in it. I only found out it existed when she accidentally forwarded me a message that wasn't meant for me. The message was a photo of bridesmaid dress options, soft pastels, silk, carefully coordinated. The caption read, "Vote. Ladies." I stared at it for a second longer than I should have. I wasn't one of the ladies. I called Lily that night, trying to keep my tone light. I asked about the dress code, the seating, whether she wanted me to prepare a toast. The first time, she said she'd call me back. The second time, it went straight to voicemail. An hour later, a text came through. Super busy with planning. Talk soon. She didn't call. I tried my mom next, asked if there was anything else I could help with. Anything they needed. Everything's handled. Sweetheart, Carol said. You don't need to worry about a thing. I never got a formal invitation. Not in the mail. Not in my inbox. Nothing. But I told myself that didn't matter. I was her sister. You don't send invitations to your own sister. She's already included. Automatically. At least, that's what I believed. 2 weeks before the wedding, Lily posted a photo on Instagram, rehearsal dinner at a restaurant in Millbrook. She stood in a white sundress, smiling, surrounded by bridesmaids. My mother stood beside her, glowing. The caption read, "My whole family, my whole world." I stared at that picture for 11 minutes. I counted the faces more than once. I wasn't in it. I hadn't been invited to the rehearsal dinner. I almost called, almost asked why, but I stopped myself. Maybe it was just for the bridal party. Maybe they assumed I couldn't get there early. Maybe I was reading too much into it. I set my alarm for the next morning. I had a flight to catch. I requested a full week off work. I only get 20 days a year, and I used 5 of them for this trip. The flight from London to Richmond, with a connection through New York. Cost me $1,400. The hotel in Millbrook. 4 nights at the only decent place in town. Came out to $680. Lily's wedding gift. A premium knife set she'd casually mentioned months ago. Cost $720. Before I even set foot back home, I had already spent $2,800, somewhere over the Atlantic, halfway through the first flight. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app. I had been working on a toast for weeks. Nothing too long, maybe 2 minutes. I wanted to tell a story about when Lily was 5 and used to make me play wedding with her stuffed animals. She always made me the officiant, never the bride. I thought it was funny. I thought people would laugh. I practiced it quietly, twice, whispering into my scarf so the man sitting next to me wouldn't think I was losing it. When we landed in New York for the layover, I texted my mom. Just landed. 1 more flight. Can't wait to see everyone. No response. 40 minutes passed, right before boarding. My phone buzzed. Okay. Busy. See you tomorrow. 5 words. No exclamation point. No safe travels. No. We're excited you're coming. I stared at the message while they called my boarding group. For a second. I almost took a screenshot and sent it to my friend Megan back in London with the caption, "Is this weird, or am I overthinking it?" But I didn't. I told myself I was overthinking. I boarded the plane and convinced myself everything would feel different once I got there. 18 hours of travel. 5 words back. I checked into the Willow Creek Inn at 9:30 on Friday night. The woman at the front desk smiled warmly. "Are you here for the Harrington Cooper wedding?" I hesitated for half a second. "Yes," I said. "How lovely," she replied. "You must be a friend of the family." I forced a small smile. Something like that. The room was small, but clean. I hung my dress in the closet, a deep navy piece I'd found in a boutique in Covent Garden. I placed the wrapped knife set carefully on the desk. Then I propped my phone against the lamp and called Lily. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I lowered the phone slowly and stared at the screen for a second before texting my mom instead. Checked in. What time should I arrive at the venue tomorrow? An hour passed. Then her reply came through. Ceremony 2:00 p.m. That was it. No, come early. No, let's have breakfast. No, your dad wants to see you. Just a time. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at myself in the mirror across the room. 17 hours of travel, nearly $3,000 spent, $41,000 in contracts under my name. And my own mother couldn't give me more than 3 words at a time. The last time I had been back to Millbrook was 2 years ago. My grandmother's funeral. Carol barely spoke to me then, too. She spent the entire service whispering to Lily, greeting neighbors, smiling for everyone else. At the reception afterward, someone had asked her how many children she had. She said, "Just 1. Lily." I had been standing maybe 6 feet away, holding a paper plate and pretending not to hear. That memory came back sharper than I expected. I stood up and started ironing my dress like I was preparing for something important, like a job interview, in a way. That's exactly what it felt like. I was auditioning for a place in my own family. I set my alarm for 8 a.m. and turned off the lights. But sleep didn't come. The walls were thin. And the couple next door had their TV blasting some late-night game show. But that wasn't what kept me awake. It was the numbers. $2,800 for this trip. $38,000 still waiting on my credit card. And then everything else. 6 years of sending money home every time my mom called with another emergency. The broken water heater. Lily's car insurance. A sudden tax bill they forgot about. I had never added it all together. I didn't want to know the total. But lying there in the dark, I started counting something else. The calls that never came. Birthdays reduced to a late-night HBD text, or nothing at all. Christmases where I tried to FaceTime and no one picked up because they were at someone else's party. The framed photos on my mom's mantle. 3 of Lily. None of me. If I kept going like this, kept paying, kept showing up, kept pretending it didn't hurt, what would I lose? Not money. Myself. I'd become the kind of person who buys her own seat at the table and still gets treated like she doesn't belong there. The one who gives everything and is remembered as a footnote. I turned onto my side and stared at the wall. But even then, I chose to believe. Just one more time. Maybe tomorrow would be different. Maybe my mom was just stressed. Maybe Lily was overwhelmed. Maybe when I walked in, my mother would hug me and say, "I'm so glad you're here." Maybe. I closed my eyes and made myself a promise. This would be the last time I showed up hoping for something they had never given me freely. Tomorrow, I'd find out if hope was enough. Sleep came slowly. Light. Fragile. Saturday, 1:45 p.m. Harrington Estate stretched across acres of rolling green just outside Millbrook. White fences lined the property. Strings of warm lights hung between tall oak trees. A gravel path, decorated with glass jars and wildflowers, led straight to the main entrance. It looked like something out of a magazine. I parked my rental car near the far end of the lot. There were already dozens of vehicles there. Pickup trucks, sedans, and a few polished luxury SUVs that practically announced Harrington money without saying a word. Guests moved in small groups toward the entrance, holding folded programs, adjusting jackets and hats. Laughing softly like this was just another perfect afternoon. I smoothed my dress, picked up the gift box, and started walking. My heels sank slightly into the gravel with each step. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass mixed with barbecue smoke drifting from somewhere behind the estate. I saw my father first. Robert stood near the double doors, wearing a rented suit that didn't quite sit right on his shoulders. He was shaking hands with an older man I didn't recognize, someone from the Harrington side. I assumed. Then he looked up and saw me. The smile disappeared immediately. His eyes widened for a split second, then narrowed, then dropped to the ground. He didn't wave. He didn't walk toward me. He turned and went inside. I kept walking. 15 yards. 10. 5. The doors opened again. My mother stepped out. Carol was dressed in champagne silk. Perfectly styled, every detail polished, hair done, makeup flawless, expression cold. She stopped directly in front of me, hands clasped together. Not open, not welcoming. A barrier. Tracy. Her voice was low, controlled. "Hi, Mom. I made it." She didn't hug me. She didn't move. "What are you doing here?" The question landed wrong. "I'm here for Lily's wedding. You need to leave. Now." For a second, I thought I heard it wrong. "What, lower your voice?" she said quickly, her eyes flicking past me toward the guests walking by. "People are watching. I flew 17 hours to be here. Tracy, Mom. I'm your daughter." She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same one she had worn my entire life. Her voice dropped to a whisper, the kind that cuts deeper than yelling. "Only family is allowed inside." A pause. "You weren't invited." I just stood there. The gravel shifted under my heels. A couple walked past us, probably in their 60s. The woman gave a polite smile. My mother smiled back instantly, the second they were gone. Her face hardened again. "Not invited," I repeated. "I signed every contract for this wedding. I paid the deposit." "This isn't about money," she said sharply. "This is about what's appropriate." "Appropriate, Tracy. Please, don't make a scene." Behind her, Through the partially open doors, I could see everything. Rows of white chairs, soft greenery draped along wooden beams, a string quartet tuning their instruments near the front. Every detail. Something I had helped pay for. My father appeared again in the doorway. He looked at my mother, then at me, then down at the floor. His hands slid into his pockets. He said nothing. Not a word. From inside, a woman's voice called out, smooth and confident. "Carol, who is that? Everything okay out there?" I watched my mother straighten her posture instantly. I watched her put on a smile that didn't belong to me. And then she turned halfway toward the voice. And that voice, I realized almost immediately, belonged to Victoria Harrington, Evan's mother, the woman who had been told my mother only had one daughter. Victoria stepped through the doors in a lavender dress, pearls resting neatly at her collar. Tall, poised, silver hair styled perfectly. The kind of woman who runs charity events, organizes fundraisers, and never once loses control in public. She carried herself like someone who had never been embarrassed, not even once. "Carol, everything all right out here?" Her eyes landed on me. She smiled, open, expecting an answer. And just like that, my mother changed. Her voice softened instantly, warm and effortless. "Oh, it's nothing. Victoria, just a distant relative who showed up at the wrong venue. It happens with these larger events." A distant relative. She said it while looking directly at me. Victoria studied my face a little more carefully this time. "I thought you said you only had one daughter. Carol." The silence stretched. Maybe 2 seconds. It felt like 20. My mother let out a light laugh. Sharp. Fragile. "I do. This is just a cousin visiting from out of town. She must have mixed up the details." Victoria nodded slowly. Her eyes flicked back to me one last time before she reached out and lightly touched my mother's arm. "Well, the ceremony starts in 10 minutes. We should head inside." And just like that, she turned and disappeared back through the doors. They closed softly behind her. I looked at my mother. She looked back at me. There was nothing in her expression. No guilt, no shame, not even the smallest hint of apology, only fear. The kind of fear that shows up when a lie gets too big to hold. "A cousin," I said quietly. "Tracy, please. You told them you only have one daughter. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand." "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been telling people I don't exist?" She didn't answer. Her eyes drifted past me, toward the parking lot, like she was hoping I would just disappear on my own. That's when it finally clicked. She didn't forget to invite me. She erased me, and she had been doing it for years. Every part of me wanted to walk straight through those doors, to stand in the middle of that ceremony and say it out loud, clear enough for everyone to hear. "My name is Tracy Cooper. I am Carol's eldest daughter, and I paid for every flower, every plate, every note that string quartet is about to play." I didn't do it. I looked past her instead, at the lights strung across the trees, at the soft glow spilling through the windows, at the wedding I had helped create, and the place I wasn't allowed to stand in. My mother was still blocking the entrance. My father's shadow lingered just inside the doorway, unmoving, and in that moment, I made a decision. I bent down slowly and placed the gift box on the stone step, carefully, like it still mattered. "Keep it," I said. "It's for Lily." My mother's shoulders relaxed just slightly. Relief. She thought it was over. "Thank you. Tracy. This really means don't." I raised my hand gently. "Don't explain. Don't justify it." I took a breath. "I heard you. Every word." Then I turned and walked away. back down the gravel path, past the rows of mason jars, past couples arriving hand in hand, smiling, adjusting their outfits like nothing in the world was wrong. Past my car, I opened the door, got in, and closed it quietly. And then I cried. Not loudly, not dramatically. The quiet kind. The kind where your chest shakes but no sound comes out. Because somewhere along the way, you learned not to make a scene. I sat there for about 10 minutes. Through the open window, I heard the music begin. Pachelbel's canon. The ceremony had started. I started the engine and drove away. In the rearview mirror, the Harrington estate grew smaller until it was just a blur of light in the distance. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't fight. I just left. And somehow, it felt like the strongest thing I had ever done. I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. Why didn't I say something right there? In front of everyone. Trust me. I asked myself that the entire drive back. But let me ask you something instead. If you think my parents were right to shut me out and pretend I didn't belong, then comment Tracy deserved it. But if you feel that no one should ever be erased or treated like they don't matter, especially by their own family, then comment, terrible parents. I really want to hear what you think, because sometimes the hardest part isn't what happens. It's realizing where people stand when it does. And if this story feels a little too familiar, like it's touching something you've been through yourself, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more than you think. I got back to the Willow Creek Inn without really remembering the drive. The roads were empty. Almost everyone in Millbrook was at the wedding. Of course they were. I walked into my room, kicked off my heels, and sat down on the edge of the bed. I was still wearing the dress. My mascara had smudged under my eyes. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The toast I had written was still open on my phone. I stared at it for a second, then closed it without reading a single word. After that, I opened my laptop. There were 4 emails sitting in my inbox, all from the past 2 weeks, vendor confirmations, all addressed to me. I had skimmed them when they first came in. Now, I read every line. Willow Creek Estate, contract holder Tracy Cooper. Deposit paid $1,200, remaining balance $14,800. Due within 5 business days after the event. Golden Table Catering, contract holder Tracy Cooper. Deposit paid $900, remaining balance $12,600. Evergreen Floral Studio, contract holder Tracy Cooper. Deposit paid $800. Remaining balance $6,200. Hawthorne Photography, contract holder Tracy Cooper. Deposit paid $600. Remaining balance $4,400. I scrolled slowly through each one. My name, my card number, my signature attached in clean PDF files. Every contract structured the same way. Deposit upfront. Full balance due after the event. Total deposits already paid, $3,500. Gone. Total remaining balance, $38,000. I closed the laptop and just sat there. At that exact moment. The reception was probably in full swing. Toasts being given. My mother smiling, hugging Lily. Evan spinning his bride across the dance floor. The Harringtons raising glasses, celebrating their new extended family. All of it happening under contracts signed by someone they had just introduced as a stranger. I didn't call anyone that night. I didn't send a single email. I just sat there, letting the number repeat in my head. 38,000. My name. Their celebration. At 9:47 p.m., my phone rang. The screen lit up with a name I hadn't seen in a while. Aunt Linda, my mom's older sister, 62. Retired school principal, the kind of woman who says exactly what she thinks and never apologizes for it. My mother always called her difficult. Everyone else called her honest. I answered, "Tracy, where are you? I didn't see you at the wedding." "I was there," I said quietly. "I just didn't make it inside." There was a pause. "What do you mean you didn't make it inside?" So I told her everything. I told her everything. The way Mom stood in front of me like a wall. The whisper. Only family. The word cousin. Victoria Harrington's question. My mother's answer. Then silence. A long one. I could hear Aunt Linda breathing on the other end. Slow. Measured. The way she does when she's deciding exactly how angry she's about to get. She told them you don't exist. Her voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. She said she only has one daughter. Lord. She exhaled quietly. Another pause. "Tracy, listen to me. At the reception tonight, your mother stood up for a toast, and I'm quoting her exactly. Our little family, Robert, myself, and our Lily. That's how she introduced your family." I closed my eyes. I sat there thinking something felt off. She continued. "I almost said something. I should have. It's not your fault." I said, "No." She replied firmly, "It's not. It's hers. And she's going to answer for it." There was another pause. Sharper this time. "Those vendor contracts. The ones for the wedding. Whose name are they under mine?" "All of them. All of them." Silence again. When she spoke next. Her tone had changed. Still angry. But now focused. "Then, listen to me carefully. Your mother stood in front of a room full of people and erased you. You don't owe that room a single dollar. Sunday morning. I woke up to a notification on my phone. Instagram. Lily had posted her wedding photos. A full carousel. 14 pictures. The first was at the altar. Lace dress. Soft light. Everything glowing like a fairy tale. The second was the family portrait. Robert, Carol, Lily, Evan, Victoria and her husband. 6 people. 2 families coming together. 1 daughter missing. The caption read, "Surrounded by everyone who matters." I read it 3 times. Then I opened my email. The invoice from the venue had already arrived. Bright, cheerful formatting. Like nothing in the world was wrong. "Thank you for choosing Willow Creek Estate. Your remaining balance of $14,800 is due within 5 business days." Below it were the others. Catering, florals, photography. All time-stamped the night before. All addressed to me. All with the same deadline. $38,000. Due by Thursday. I stared at the screen. Then I looked back at Lily's post. Everyone who matters. Then back to the invoices. And something shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Something quieter. Clearer. Like a door unlocking after being stuck for years. I wasn't in those photos. But I was on every bill. I paid for a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. And suddenly, the answer felt simple. Something had to change. And it wasn't going to be me. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail. From Lily. She didn't call twice. Didn't try to reach me. Just left a message. Like she was checking something off a list. I pressed play. "Hey, Tracy. So the wedding was amazing. Like, literally perfect. The venue looked incredible. And Evan's family was so nice. Sorry, things were kind of weird yesterday. Mom said it was for the best. And honestly, I think she's right. It would have been hard to explain." A pause. "But I just wanted to say thanks. For helping with the vendor stuff. Really, you're the best." I listened to the voicemail twice. Sorry, things were kind of weird. Not, I'm sorry. Mom turned you away. Not I should have stood up for you. Not I didn't know. Just weird. And then, Mom said it was for the best. That's when it clicked. Lily knew. She knew before the wedding. She knew exactly what was going to happen, and she agreed to it. Maybe she even helped plan it. And that last line, "You're the best, big sis." I used to love hearing that. It made everything feel worth it. Every sacrifice. Every time I showed up. Every time I said yes. But sitting there on that hotel bed, with yesterday's makeup still faintly staining the pillowcase, it sounded different. She only said that when she needed something. Only when she needed me. I didn't call her back. I didn't text. I turned my phone face down and stared at the ceiling. The invoices were due Thursday. My family had just told over 100 people I didn't exist. And my sister had just thanked me for paying. I had 4 days to decide who I was going to be. Sunday night. The hotel was completely quiet. The couple next door was gone. No TV noise, no voices, just silence. I sat cross-legged on the bed with my laptop open and typed into the search bar. Am I legally responsible for contracts I signed for someone else's event? Every answer said the same thing. The person whose name is on the contract is responsible, but the person whose name is on the contract also has control. I could approve the charges, or I could refuse them, or I could redirect them to the people who actually hosted the event. I picked up my phone, and I made the first call. Willow Creek Estate. This is Sarah. Hi. Sarah. My name is Tracy Cooper. I'm the contract holder for the Harrington Cooper wedding this past Saturday. Oh yes. Ms. Cooper. Beautiful event. How can I help? I took a breath. I'm calling to inform you that I will not be authorizing the final payment on this contract. Silence. I was not present at the event, and I'm formally requesting that the remaining balance be redirected to the event hosts. A pause. I'll need to pass this to our manager, she said carefully. Is there a dispute? No dispute. I'm simply not authorizing the charge. The invoice should go to the Cooper family in Millbrook. She took my email, confirmed everything, and said someone would follow up. I hung up. Then I called the caterer. Same explanation, same tone, same result. Then the florist. Then the photographer. 4 calls. 12 minutes. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't explain my feelings. I just said one word, calmly, over and over. No. When I finished, I closed my laptop, brushed my teeth, and lay down. For the first time in 2 days, I slept. Monday morning, I changed my flight. I wasn't staying until Wednesday anymore. I booked the earliest flight back to London, 6 a.m., connecting through Atlanta. I packed everything in 10 minutes, checked out before sunrise. The same woman at the front desk smiled at me as I handed over the key. How was the wedding? She asked. I paused for half a second. Then I smiled politely. Memorable. The drive to the airport took a little over 2 hours. On the way, I passed through Millbrook one last time. Main Street was quiet. The diner, the hardware store, the small Baptist church where I got baptized when I was 12. Everything looked exactly the same. I drove past the house I grew up in. The porch light was still on. I could picture it without even slowing down. My mom at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, still replaying the wedding in her head. My dad sitting nearby with the newspaper, leftover cake in the fridge, cards stacked on the counter. And not once would my name come up. When I was 10, my mom told me something I never forgot. Tracy, you're the older sister. You have to be strong for Lily. And I was, for 24 years, I was strong through her childhood illness, through the hospital stays that shifted everything in our family. I was strong through every financial problem, every late-night call asking for help. I was strong through every holiday I spent alone in London, telling myself it was just the time difference, not the distance. I reached the highway and didn't look back. 18 hours later, I landed at Heathrow. Gray sky, light drizzle. The most peaceful weather I had seen in a long time. I turned my phone on as I walked through arrivals. No missed calls, no messages. No one from Millbrook had checked if I made it back safely. But I knew they would call soon. The vendors would start reaching out by Tuesday. The invoices would follow. And then, my phone would ring. Tuesday, 3 p.m., London time, 9 a.m. Back home, my phone lit up. Mom. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Tracy. Hi. Honey. Her voice was soft, sweet, familiar. The version she uses when she wants something. How was your flight? Fine. Good. Good. Listen, I just got a call from the venue. They said you removed your payment authorization. A pause. The balance is $38,000. How are we handling this? We're not handling it, I said calmly. You are. Silence. Then, sharper. Excuse me. I removed my authorization because I'm not responsible for an event I wasn't invited to. Oh, don't be dramatic, she snapped. This was a misunderstanding. We can talk about it. You told Victoria Harrington I was a distant relative. Another pause. You told her you only have one daughter. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you said. The softness in her voice disappeared. After everything I've done for you, she said, this is how you repay me. I took a breath. You raised me. I'm grateful for that. But you also stood in front of your daughter and told a stranger she doesn't exist. Both of those things are true. You're blowing this out of proportion. $38,000 is the proportion. Your father is under a lot of stress. She continued quickly. His blood pressure if something happens to him. Dad stood there and said nothing. I cut in. He made his choice too. Silence. Heavy this time. Then quieter. You said I wasn't family. I said, so the family bill belongs to the family. The line went dead. No goodbye, no argument. Just a click. I set my phone down and stared at it. My hands were steady. My chest felt calm. The apartment was quiet. Really quiet. For the first time in months. There was no tension sitting in the air. 40 minutes later. She called again. No sweetness this time. No pretending. Do you have any idea what you've done? She demanded. Yes. The venue is calling me. The caterer is calling me. They're sending invoices with your name crossed out and mine written in. Do you know how humiliating that is? I didn't raise my voice. I imagine it feels a lot like being called a stranger at your own sister's wedding. That's not the same thing. She snapped. You're right, I said calmly. Yours comes with a $38,000 price tag. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. I raised you, she said, her voice rising. I fed you. I drove you to school every single day for 12 years. And now, because of one misunderstanding, you're going to destroy your own family. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Silence. Then anger. Fine, she said. Fine. Tracy, you want to play this game? I'll tell everyone. I'll tell the whole town what kind of daughter abandons her family over money. Go ahead, I replied. I'd rather be the daughter you talk badly about than the daughter you pretend doesn't exist. That stopped her. I heard her breath catch, sharp and sudden, like she had just stepped into cold water. You don't mean that, she said, quieter now. I do. Another pause. Then she reached for the last weapon she always used. Your father could have a heart attack over this. If something happens to him, that's on you. There it was. The same guilt she had used for years. When I moved away, when I skipped holidays, when I stopped sending money without being asked. Dad's health is between him and his doctor, I said. Not me and my credit card. She hung up again. This time, I didn't stare at the phone. I walked into the kitchen, put the kettle on, and made myself a cup of tea. By Wednesday, the calls started coming in waves. I call it the family chain reaction. One person calls, then another, then another. Each one carrying the same pressure wrapped in different words. Lily called first. She was crying. Loud. Messy. The kind of crying she had mastered since she was a child. Tracy. Please. She said between sobs. Evan and I just got married. We don't have $38,000. If you don't pay it. We have to. You're ruining the start of our life together. I listened. Then I asked quietly, did you know Mom told them I don't exist? There was a pause. A long one. I mean, she said it would be easier. Lily said slowly, you know how the Harringtons are. Traditional, and you living overseas. Not married. It just complicated things. You knew. I didn't think they'd actually turn you away. She rushed. I thought. But you didn't stop it. Silence. Then she sniffed again. Can we just focus on the bill, she said? Evan's parents are asking questions. Maybe it's time someone gave them honest answers. She hung up. That afternoon, my dad called. He almost never calls. Hearing his voice felt unfamiliar, like picking up something old you forgot you owned. Tracy, your mother is very upset. I know. Can you be flexible on this? For the family, I took a breath. Dad. Did you know she told people I'm not your daughter? A long exhale came through the phone. That's not exactly what happened. Were you there when she called me a distant relative right in front of me? Nothing. Then a quiet click. He hung up. They all did that. Every single one of them. The moment the truth got too close, they disappeared. By Thursday morning. The same day the invoices were due. Aunt Linda made her move. She didn't ask for permission. She never does. She found Victoria Harrington's number in the wedding program and called her directly. She told me about it later. Every detail. She introduced herself calmly, explained who she was. Then she said the one thing no one else had been willing to say out loud. Carol has 2 daughters. Not one. She told her about me, my age, my life in London, my career. She told her I was the one who signed every contract, paid every deposit, and that I had been turned away at the door. There was silence on the other end. She said, long enough to matter. Victoria's voice changed after that. Cold, precise, the kind of tone that comes from someone who realizes they've been lied to. I didn't ask Aunt Linda to make that call, but when she told me she did, for the first time in a long time, I felt seen, not ignored, not dismissed, seen. Someone finally said it out loud. What happened to me was wrong. That mattered more than I expected. That afternoon, I sat at my desk in my London apartment with a cup of tea beside me and started closing every open loop, one by one, carefully, completely. I sent the emails, one to each vendor, clear and formal, removing my authorization and redirecting every remaining balance to my family. Within an hour, confirmations came back. Professional, polite, no questions asked. It was done. Then I canceled the card tied to those contracts. Just like that. The $38,000 no longer had anything to do with me. The $3,500 deposit was gone. My flights, hotel, the gift, all together. About $6,300. I sat with that number for a while. $6,300. The cost of finally understanding that nothing I gave would ever be enough to earn a place in a family that had already decided I didn't belong. And honestly, it felt cheap. That afternoon, I went for a walk along the Thames. The sky was gray, the air cold, and for the first time in years, I felt light, like I wasn't carrying something invisible anymore. The next morning, I wrote one final email to my parents, to Lily. I kept it simple. No emotion, no accusations, just facts. I told them I had removed my payment authorization, that the remaining balance had been redirected to them, and that I wouldn't be discussing it further. I wished Lily a happy marriage. Then I added one line that mattered more than everything else. If they wanted a relationship with me, it would have to start with honesty, not money. I read it over 4 times before sending it. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't dramatic. It was a boundary. Clean, clear, final. After that, I closed my laptop, made a cup of tea, and stood by the window of my apartment. It overlooked a small courtyard with a tree that dropped leaves onto a neighbor's bike. Nothing special, but it was mine. For years, I had lived with this quiet question in the back of my mind. Am I doing enough? Giving enough if I try harder? Send more? Show up more? Will they finally see me standing there, holding something warm that I made for myself, in a place I built on my own? That question disappeared. I didn't send that email to hurt them. I sent it so I could finally stop hurting myself. Aunt Linda kept me updated. She tried to pretend she wasn't enjoying the fallout, but she's never been good at hiding the truth. Victoria Harrington called my mother the same day everything came out. The conversation, according to someone who overheard it, was calm, but sharp. She told my mother she had been lied to, that trust had been broken, that they had welcomed our family under false pretenses. My mom tried to explain, said it was complicated, said we were distant, but the truth had already been said out loud. And once that happens, you can't take it back. The Harringtons made it clear they weren't paying the $38,000. It wasn't their contract. It wasn't their responsibility. That left my family with a problem they couldn't ignore. Evan found out everything within days. About me. About the contracts. About what happened at the door. And for the first time, Lily didn't have a story that could smooth it over. Their first real fight as a married couple happened less than a week after the wedding. Not about money. About the truth. In the end, they took out a loan. My parents contributed what they could. The rest became monthly payments tied to what was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives, back in Millbrook. The story spread fast. It always does in small towns. At church, at the diner, at the grocery store. The details changed depending on who told it, but the core stayed the same. A mother denied her own daughter and expected her to pay for it. My mom tried to control the narrative, said I lived overseas, said we weren't close, said it was complicated, but people talk, and sooner or later, the truth finds its way through. My dad grew quieter after that, even more than before. People noticed. My mom blamed Aunt Linda, said she ruined everything. But the truth is, nothing was ruined. It was just revealed. 2 weeks later, Lily texted me. Long message. Apologies mixed with excuses. Problems layered over problems. She asked if I could help, even just part of the money. Promised she would pay me back. Said she needed me. I read it carefully. Then I read it again. And I noticed what wasn't there. No real apology for what happened at the door. No acknowledgement that she knew. No recognition of what it felt like to be erased. She apologized for the situation, not for the hurt. There's a difference. I replied once, calm, clear. I told her I was sorry she was struggling, but I couldn't help financially, because this wasn't about money anymore. It was about being treated like family, real family. And until that changed, nothing else would. She didn't reply. I wasn't surprised. A month later, I got an email from my dad. He said he was sorry, that he should have said something, that he didn't, that he was a coward. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. The first honest thing anyone in my family had said to me in a long time. I didn't answer right away. When I finally did, I kept it simple. Thank you. I'm not ready to come back, but I heard you, and that was enough. 6 months have passed since that day. I got promoted, started therapy, started understanding why I had spent so many years trying to earn something that should have been given freely. I still talk to Aunt Linda. My parents are paying off the debt slowly. Lily and Evan are still together, but it's not the fairy tale they imagined. My mom hasn't reached out. Not once. And I've made peace with that. I don't hate her, but I don't pretend anymore. What she gave me hurt, and pretending it didn't was costing me more than any amount of money ever could. I didn't lose my family that day. I found myself, and for the first time, that was enough. If you would do the same as me, choosing to set boundaries and refuse to pay for people who denied your place in their lives, then comment, I trust you. If you'd choose differently, maybe still paying or trying to fix everything at any cost, then comment, try to fix it. And if you're still thinking, still torn between both sides, you can write maybe and share your thoughts with me. That's my story. And if you've ever been in a situation like mine, I'd love to hear yours too. There was a moment I realized something had to change, not in them, but in me. For so long, I believed love meant sacrifice, that if I gave enough, stayed quiet enough, endured enough, I would finally be seen. But this experience taught me a deeper truth. Real love doesn't erase you, and real family doesn't make you earn your place. I learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. It's choosing to protect your worth, even when it hurts, even when it means walking away. And maybe that's the hardest kind of courage there is. If this story resonates with you, I hope you remember that your value isn't defined by how much you give, but by how you choose to honor yourself. If you found meaning in this, consider subscribing, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and liking the video so more people can feel seen too. You're not alone in this journey, and your voice matters more than you think. I'll see you in the next story.